Historic Resources Board May meeting. Want to point out that Zoom webinar participation is encouraged. It's available for members of the public. The Zoom webinar ID and link are available on the posted agenda on the city website. Can we have a roll call, please?
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle with Community Development. And we would like to see if Board Member Munoz.
Present.
Board Member Shim. Present. Board Member Hirahara.
Present.
Board Member Collender.
Present.
And Chair Maskai.
Present. And can we have a welcome of staff introductions?
Grant Leonard, Planning Manager.
Yesenia Segovia, Assistant Planner.
Next item is public comments. Any members of the public are welcome to come forward. We do point out that each presentation is generally limited to 2 minutes. Any public comments?
Good afternoon. My name is Denise Estrada. I'm here for 2 reasons today. Both of them to say thank you very much. The Salinas City Heritage stakeholders want to express their appreciation for the support that you provided as we process the name. Just to let you know that that name right now is scheduled to come before the City Council on June the 2nd. And so we thank you for all your hard work there. Also wanted to give you credit for those of you who were able to come on Saturday for our second Salinas Day event. Each year it gets better, so we're going to already start work on Salinas Day number 3. So thank you for both.
Thank you, Denise. Any other public comments? Okay, moving forward to the approval of the minutes from the April 6th meeting. Are there any questions, comments from board members? If not, can we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
And can we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Munoz.
Yes.
Board Member Shim.
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara.
Yes.
Board Member Collender.
Yes.
And Chair Maskai.
Yes. Next consideration is the Historic Resources Certificates of Appreciation.
Hello, board members. So back in March at our HRB meeting, I announced that the certificate of appreciation nomination period would be open beginning Monday, March 2nd through Friday, April 3rd. The certificates of appreciation are an honorary award that promotes exceptional commitment to the history of Salinas. Criteria for the nominations in the 3 categories stayed the same as last year. The 3 categories were individuals and organizations that through special effort have made significant contributions to the preservation of historical resources in Salinas, programs and activities related to the identification, protection, and interpretation of historic resources, and projects that comply with current federal guidelines for preservation, restoration, rehabilitation, and reconstruction would be eligible for consideration. And special consideration would be given to projects that demonstrate new or novel approaches to the protection of historic resources. Next slide. So we received 6 nominations in total, and they are all staff recommended. Individuals and organizations received 0 nominations. Programs and activities received 3 nominations, and projects also receiving 3 nominations. Next slide. Staff recommendations for programs and activities. So the Steinbeck House did receive 3 nominations and meets the qualifications for the programs and activities category by demonstrating strong educational outreach and interpretive efforts. Through its guided tours, it provides meaningful and education about John Steinbeck's life and legacy. Its ability to attract visitors from 92 countries highlights its exceptional public outreach. And the House also effectively interprets its historic resource by sharing Steinbeck's story with within his birthplace. Next slide. Staff recommendations for projects. 54 Harvest Street was nominated for its installation of a new fence and gate that complements this 1925 circa Spanish colonial revival home design, demonstrating sensitivity to preservation standards and maintaining the property's visual integrity. In addition to improving its security and safeguarding the site, the project reflects a thoughtful approach to protecting the historic resource in a way that is both functional and aesthetically appropriate through its installation of its new fence. Next slide. 36 Los Laurales Avenue meets the category qualifications for rehabilitating a long-neglected historic home in a manner that is consistent with preservation standards. After more than 70 years of vacancy and deferred maintenance, the property has been restored to reflect pride of its ownership while retaining its historic character. The photo in the middle was taken by Kent Seavey in 1989. As you can see, the property's design have been preserved. Next slide. 512 Bajaro Street meets the category qualifications by incorporating a new gate. The new gate design is compatible with the building's historic character. The design reflects a sensitive approach to preservation while ensuring that the addition enhances security while maintaining the property's architectural integrity. This work demonstrates adherence to preservation principles by protecting the historic resource without distracting from its original design. Next slide. So next steps include the Historic Resources Board to identify the nominees receiving the Certificate of Appreciation Award. And after, recipients will be contacted to inform them of their award and to distribute the certificates. Next slide. With that, I'd like to turn it back to the board for any questions.
Larry?
At 36 Los Laurales Grade, which one of those pictures is the current rendering? One's blue. Are they both the same? Because
The one
looks
on-
green,
No, one
The
is-
one on the left.
on the left. Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you.
I have a question. Happy to see the Steinbeck House recognized. It's such a jewel for Salinas to have, and the Guild has done an amazing job since taking over it. Did they receive an award last year as well?
They did receive an award
They
last
did.
year.
So is this a repeat recognition, or is it a recognition in a new way, a new category?
This is a repeat
A repeat?
recognition in the same category.
Okay, well, that brings up my other question then. I thought when the board discussed, after our long various talks and meetings about having these awards, we were going to post the recipient information on our website. So future generations and those on the board like myself who can't remember would have seen that the Steinbeck House received this. So, and I have no objection to their getting another recognition. So what is the plan with the city to begin including this on our website, so we all know.
Yes, so that is on my to-do list. As the city is currently updating their website, staff doesn't have any website access at the moment, but we will towards, I believe, next week, we should have access to our website, and I will plan to add those.
Okay, so do you think by June, that would give, because there weren't that many, I know last year we had more awardees, but by June, you think the public and all of us will be able to find this on the website?
Yes, I can try my best to put it up on our website by June.
Okay, thank you. Sal, did you have a question?
I think whenever we have nominations for a building, we should be very specific the reasons why. And for the Steinbeck House, it will be an adapted reuse, a successful adapted reuse of a historical resource, and also for having an outstanding restoration of the building, inside and out. I had a meeting last Friday at the Steinbeck House, and I approached the manager, and we offer, because our office does scanning of historical buildings, that we can create virtual tours so people can have an access who are away from the city, who have seen the house when they grew up or something, or even people who are interested in the Steinbeck House can have a virtual tour everywhere in the house. So in that way, just in case there is a fire, an earthquake, and we lose the building, we still have the virtual tour. That's one of the requirements from CEQA. Whenever somebody demolishes a building, we should have evidence in the description of the building that used to be at the site.
Good point. Any other comments or questions?
My only comment was, yeah, it would, I think posting on the website is necessary because there wasn't a lot of, I guess, information or promotion of the certificates themselves. So it's much easier if it's on the website and then people can easily access that. So that would be my, glad to hear that's going to happen, but I would say that that would be my recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think many of the public don't realize that they themselves can make the nominations. It isn't just the board's responsibility. So, yeah, I think that's good to point out.
I'd actually like to request if we could vote on the buildings separately, because I'm going to have to abstain from 512 Pajaro Street, as I belong to 3 associations in there. I know half of the people working there, and I worked for 6 years in that building.
Okay.
And also in this process, it will inspire any owners of a historical resource to be able to take care of their buildings and also be recognized for the job well done.
Okay, if that's all of the comments or questions we have, moving on to administrative reports.
Vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Any public comment?
I have no objection of voting project by project.
Okay. So,
By nomination.
so we're going to be voting per project, per address. So can we have a motion from the board regarding
No.
the first property?
What's the first property?
132 Central Avenue, which is a Steinbeck house.
Oh, yeah. Also move Steinbeck House approval.
Okay. Sal seconds. And we have a vote.
Board Member Munoz?
Yes.
Board Member Shim?
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara?
Yes.
Board Member Collender?
Yes.
Chair Mazgai?
Yes. Next property is 54 Harvest Street. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second that.
Can we have a vote?
Board Member Munoz?
Yes.
Board Member Shim?
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara?
Yes.
Board Member Collender?
Yes.
Chair Mazgai?
Yes. Next address is 36 Los Orales. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, can we have a vote, please?
Board Member Munoz?
Yes.
Board Member Shim?
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara?
Yes.
Board Member Collender?
Yes.
And Chair Mazgai?
Yes. 512 Pajaro Street, do we have a motion?
I'll move.
And second, Eloise? Can we have a vote, please?
Board Member Munoz?
Oh, yes.
Board Member Shim?
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara?
Yes.
Board Member Collender?
Abstain.
And Chair Mazgai?
Yes. And just to be clear, so the city staff is then going to contact the recipients and prepare the award to be presented? Will it be at a council meeting, or how is that going to happen?
Grant, would you like to answer this question?
So at last year, we did an announcement at the city council. There was a sort of a public comment before the meeting as part of a recognition of Historic Preservation Month, which May is. And then the individual recipients were contacted separately and either mailed their certificate or they came to the office and received it. So we can do that same process again this year.
Any comments or changes, requests, or that sounds good? Sal?
I'm just adding a comment. I nominated Ken Seavey for to be recognized as a historical preservationist through the California Historical Foundation, which he will receive it this Friday over there in Riverside, where they have their annual meeting.
Good.
Yeah. And he's going to receive it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Yesenia. Now we go to administrative reports. Historic Resource Board training opportunities.
Okay, so hi, board members. So I have found 2 training opportunities that could be applied both to staff and to board members. The first one being the interpretation and application of Secretary of Interior standards for treatments of historic properties. If we can pull that up on the screen. And this is provided through the California State Parks. And so this is a free e-learning course designed for historic preservation commissioners, planning staff, and local government. It's a self-paced learning course with 3 learning modules. It includes learning opportunities for city staff to better understand or simply remind city staff about the Secretary of Interior's standards for treatment of historic properties, the 4 treatments for the historic properties, and how to interpret and apply the standards for rehabilitation. And so I'd like to nicely remind again that this is self-paced, so there's no registration, there's no sign up, there's no fee, and it could be found through the California State Parks. Additionally, I also found a training opportunity through the California Preservation Foundation. This training focuses on teaching local government staff how to effectively rethink community engagement in preservation. It's a 2-day program emphasizing practical tools, clear communication strategies, and real-world application. Those who participate would learn how to talk about preservation with owners and partners to strengthen outreach on preservation. And so this one is through registration. And I could send out an invitation and make this an agendized meeting for staff and for board members if they are interested. And I can send out more information. So if you are interested in the e-learning self-paced course, please feel free to email me and/or the CPF training. Please email me and I can send you more information regarding those training opportunities. And with that, any questions from the board?
So I have a question. The first one was through state parks.
Yes.
So are you able to send the link to us and then we just do that on our own? We just
Yes.
click on, do it, and then whatever, we take it immediately, or the next time it's available, we do it that way?
Yes. So the e-learning is totally self-paced. You can take it at your own time.
Okay, good. So if you would please send that to the board members. And for the second, may as well send out in the same email the other link for that. And what you want us to do is to respond to you if we're interested, and then you'll take it from there and set it up.
Yes.
Okay? Any other questions or comments?
Question. So what do you mean by it will be agendized?
Do you want to take this, Grant?
Sure. So these are all public trainings, and you're welcome to do it on your own and in your own time. But if we choose to meet as a board, like all of us together, then that would be in a meeting under the Brown Act. So we would reserve this room or a conference room, and then we would publish an agenda within so many days' notice. Public could come and participate in the training. So that's just the decision. If you want to do it individually, we don't have to go through those steps. If we want to do it collectively as a group, there would be that process to follow.
Okay.
I have a question. On the California Parks self-paced e-learning, is there a certificate or some kind of a way of saying if we've finished that course? Because we should probably include that in our, whatever that state learning or whatever the hours or we put into training. Is there a certificate or we just turn that in?
There's a certificate at the end.
Okay, very good. No cheating.
Any other comments or questions?
No?
All right, thanks for doing that. We're anxious to learn more. Any comments from the public or questions about this? All right, it looks like the next topic is the update on the El Rey Theater.
Giving a lot of updates today. So prior to our last meeting, the board did ask an update on the El Rey Theater. And so I did go through our permit tracking website through the city to find any updates. So I found that in 2014, El Rey Theater applied for a conditional use permit to establish and operate a commercial recreation use with live entertainment and on-sale of alcohol. They applied for the CUP in January 2024. The CUP was then approved in September of 2024 and closed in October that same year. After that, El Rey Theater applied for a building permit in 2025 to work on interior accessibility upgrades to the theater. They applied for the building permit in February of 2025 and was approved in July that same year. El Rey Theater has also been receiving regularly check-ins from the city.
Receiving
Uh,
checkups.
Checkups, yeah.
I see.
With that, any questions from the board?
So I have a question. When they did apply in 2024 for the designation, there weren't very many photos of the interior. There was just one photo from 1940, and it was, you really couldn't tell what it looked like. So we did, of course, grant them the designation, but I would like to know, and in the future, if we do grant a designated historic resource, I think that we should sort of mandate that they do some kind of update periodically, a documentation, including photos about their progress. Because I really didn't, since I'm representing the public here, I had no idea what was inside of that place, what it looked like, and then if they have to be documenting it, then at least we'll have an idea that they're actually doing something to it. But if there's no documentation, then we don't know. And also, they said that they were working at the time on the facade, on the, what is it called? This marquee, that they were working on that. And in 2 years, they haven't done anything to it. I mean, I saw it when we granted it, and I've seen it recently, and they haven't done anything. So I think as a board, we should require, when we're granting people designation, that they keep some kind of a documented update, photographic documented update of their progress.
I have a question. As a point of clarification, as far as historic preservation, I thought, it's my understanding that it's only the outside facade, or what the public can actually see, is what we can have some, input on. But interior-wise, I don't think that's part of our purview, is it?
That's correct. For review of major modifications to the building under the Historic Resource Ordinance.
Sal?
That depends on the historical report. Sometimes there is some unique interior features with the style. In that particular building, I worked there in 1989. The owner at the time, unfortunately, sold a ticket booth. It was a beautiful Art Deco booth, and he sold it. I recommended not to sell it because it'd be part of the building. It's untouched. Inside, there were some murals in an Egyptian theme. Beautiful done murals. Because he had some transparent clothes, if we can see the Egyptian interior architecture, they had a sort of like a silk looking and transparent, so it looked nude. The unfortunate part is that the owner leased that to a church. And the church painted over the murals. So the murals still are behind some paint. And it was beautifully done. Unfortunately, I did not take pictures of of those murals, and I advised him to maintain those. And then, so I may have still the original working drawings on that theater. I would look at my files. It's been a long, long time. And we'll see if anything, and it was specified on the plans. But it all depends on the historical description of that particular property. The interiors may also be reviewed by a body like ours. But
Well, also, I would like to say that I think that the State Historic Building Code takes preference over our own code. And the State Historic Building Code does include the interior. And I noticed, because when I brought it up, I was sort of dismayed because I had seen both the Clay Theater in San Francisco and the Castro, and so much, emphasis when it came before the board on the interior, not just the facade, but also the interior. So if it isn't already a requirement for our historic purposes, I think it should be, because, the State Historic Building Code takes preference over our building code, over our historic code.
So Sal, I wonder if the owner, if you are able to locate those plans or designs you say you may have?
I haven't contacted, or I have not been contacted by the owner, so I don't know. The owner was, he now lives in Palo Alto, but this is way back. He
But-
used to sell, he used to sell handmade, those beautiful tapestries and rugs. And he was successful at that time. And speaking of the interiors, Porter Vallejo mansion that became the Pajaro Free Library for Monterey County has been completed in the exterior.
Okay, can I have the permission from the chair, point of order? We're supposed to be discussing right now the El Rey Theater.
So maybe, Sal, you can bring that up when we have the comment section, a
Can wait.
little more toward the end. But getting back to the El Rey discussion, the current owner probably doesn't have the plans that you think you might have, or drawings that show it?
I have it because I have it somewhere on my files.
Right. So if you should have it, and you have the opportunity to meet with him or share it with him, I know I would certainly,
Retrieve the files.
yeah,
I had to find it,
right.
yeah.
Anything else about the El Rey?
This is the first time I've heard about the California preservation laws, so I think we need further clarification, or it seems to me that it should be
We had to
reported back at the next
review-
meeting.
Yeah. We
For
had
the
to-
future, I think that, we can't just continue granting designated historic resources without the proper criteria, the criteria that goes with the State Historic Building Code. We can't just kind of like say, well, they do that, but we don't have to. No, we have to too, because their code takes precedence over us. The state does.
I'd like to have clarification on that also.
Yeah, happy to do that. I think we're discussing two separate items here. One is the city's historic resources ordinance, which outlines the powers and the authority of the HRB, as well as the designation process for designating a property as a historic resource. When you do receive the designation, you then have the ability to use the California Historic Building Code in place of the current California Building Code. There's a slightly different building code for historic properties. And that really is just more about the construction or reconstruction techniques, not the actual designation of the physical building. So it's absolutely right, if they choose to use the Historic Resources Building Code, then that would be the code that they follow for any of the interior or exterior construction activities. But the designation process is through our ordinance.
Well, is it possible for us to amend the ordinance so that it would, so that it's in concurrence with the state historic building code?
Well, again, for designation, you would follow the state and the federal guidelines, the Secretary of Interior guidelines for historic preservation, which our ordinance does reference.
So that would include the interior.
We have to see the historical report that was submitted to the city.
It did,
If in the report says
We
they're
did-
including also the interiors,
the DPR
and we-
did show interior,
it show it?
yes.
Yeah.
The DPR did show a picture of the interior,
We-
one picture from 1940.
Sure, we can follow up with some more clarification.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the LRA? Anyone from the public? All right.
Okay.
So next on the agenda is the Mills Act program application period.
Yes, Board, just a quick announcement that we have begun our annual Mills Act application period, May 1st to July 31st. So the Mills Act program is a tax saving program for historic properties where the owner of the property can enter into a contract with the city, receive a tax savings, and then apply that tax savings to the preservation of the property through an itemized work plan. So we look forward to promoting the program in the next several weeks and months, and then receiving applications up until July 31st.
Thank you. So how does the city plan on announcing this and promoting it?
We'll do our usual outreach methods through social media and our GovDelivery emails, and then we're looking as well to mailed information to the properties that are on our historic resources list.
Okay.
I have a question. How is this integrated in the permit department or permit process? Or is it?
The Mills Act is not part of the permitting process. So it would be a contract with the city, and then that is recorded at the county for the tax saving benefits. But then any work that's done on the historic property after that, they would follow the
Would have to have a permit.
standard permitting process, yeah. But this is a separate process from that.
Okay.
I want to point out that different cities promote the Mills Act in different ways. The city of Benicia, mainly through their historical society, produced a calendar. So the public then can purchase the calendar, and in it are the 12 homes that are part of the Mills Act program. So it's another way to reinforce the positivity of preservation. So I think we're up to 3 homes now. So if we keep at it, that's why I'm curious about how we're going to promote this, because I think most people aren't even aware of it. And it's a tremendous advantage for the homeowner and also for the city as well, as the home is restored and preserved. It's another asset for the city to enjoy. Take a look. Any other questions or comments on the Mills Act? All right. Public, any questions? You want to?
Hello, my name is Patricia Paddock. My husband and I own the building on 119 Cayuga, which is a historic building. I just didn't quite get.
Excuse me, is the mic on, or you bend it more forward to you? So we
Sure.
can-
Is it better now?
Much better, thank
Okay.
you.
Anyway, my name is Patricia Paddock. My husband Eckhart and I own the house on 119 Cayuga, just right around the corner. It's a historic building, and I was just curious about what the Mills Act entailed. Our house is partially renovated, exterior preserved as it was. What does that mean when we apply to the Mills Act? What benefit does that give us?
Grant, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. The Mills Act is an agreement with the city and a property owner. And the property owner agrees to designate their property as a historic resource locally. And then they prepare a work plan for the renovation and preservation of their property. You know, if they need a new roof, that would be listed, window replacement, upgrades to the wooden exterior, et cetera. You list out the work plan items that you have with the associated cost estimate for total budget. And then the application is reviewed by this board and then ultimately reviewed and approved by city council. And then the contract is recorded with the county recorder. And the following year, the property owner receives a discounted tax rate. I forget the numbers off the top of my head, but it's substantial for residential properties and slightly less substantial for commercial properties. And then the property owner submits an annual report to the city, monitoring their progress towards preserving and restoring the property.
So you said this, you get the following year you get a tax reduction. Is that just a one-time tax reduction? Or does it just continue at that lower rate?
Ongoing.
Ongoing, okay, good. It's good to
And
know.
in the plan that you submit, it's usually a 10-year plan of what you need, what you're going to be spending money on, you know, a new roof, replacement of wooden windows, whatever. And of course, you're following the historic guidelines of what you can, in like materials, you know, it has to be the correct criteria, type of materials used. But yeah, it's a 10-year plan, and it's ongoing, so it automatically renews. So the 11th year, unless you decide to, I don't want to be part of this, which I think probably
Most people
almost
wouldn't.
never happens, because your tax rate is significantly reduced
Yeah,
with this.
yeah.
And I didn't quite hear the street you're on. What was it?
Cayuga, we're right around the corner, 119. It's called the Empire House. It's 119 Cayuga.
What's the street name?
Cayuga.
Oh, Cayuga. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Beautiful
already on
street.
the list.
Yeah, it's in process of getting renovated, but there's a lot more to do, obviously.
Yeah, and do you know, is it already in the 89 survey? Was it part of what was included or
It
not?
is. I see it here on
It
the
is,
list.
good.
Yeah.
So that's great too, because the city staff already has it recognized, because otherwise, if
right.
you aren't, then part of your work is to have a qualified person to do research on the property, and that's part of what you submit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good news for you because you're already part of it. I mean, the city may ask for more information,
Sure.
but you're already part of it, which is good.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Sal?
What is the limit on the tax for the for the Mills Act?
I think Grant was saying that he isn't sure on the exact percentage. It's in the ballpark of at least half of what you're currently paying is what I understand. So it may,
There is a
is that your question?
of discounts that are, or credits for the property, it normally has a maximum. When you reach that maximum, then you don't give any more Mills Act.
Oh, each year, there's an annual ceiling, which is, if I remember correctly, 100,000 is what the city wants. So, you know, it's not, and it's a process. It isn't, you know, open, you have to qualify, but the annual ceiling for the number of properties is, it's 100,000. Any other comments about the Mills Act? All right. Any other board member reports or comments?
Oh, I have a comment.
Eloise?
My comment has to do with our recent resolution for the ITC. And I really didn't feel comfortable about that whole process of arriving at the resolution because I didn't feel like it was open and transparent and that there wasn't deliberation with with all of the board. And so I'm sort of asking that we rescind it or pause it or hold it from going to the city council until we either go back and do it according to the rules of governance and the Brown Act and so forth, the best practices, or just not send it to them at all.
Can you be more specific as to what you felt wasn't transparent or why you're feeling this way?
Well, because the initial resolution was brought by council, by board member Calendar, and that was in November. So the resolution was supposed to be for the Welcome Center because Chris Kaufman, or not Chris, but Craig Kaufman gave us the report about the Welcome Center, and it was, you know, extensive, but it didn't include a lot of things that were in the final resolution, which we voted on in March and then again in April. And so between November and April, there was no council deliberation. None. So that's a transparency issue.
Larry, I'm remembering you wanting to send it back to the city to rewrite it in a certain way, and that happened, is what, Grant came back with the rewrite, and we all spoke about it and discussed it, and isn't that what we voted on?
No,
That's what I'm remembering.
no, we didn't discuss it.
Yeah, we did.
We did, well, there was no deliberation. When it came on the agenda, it was March.
Well, that's only because that's when the city returned it to us. That was when the rewrite was available. Dean, what do you remember?
I remember we brought it forward and didn't like it, discussed it, it was rewritten, and then brought back to us, and then we voted after the rewrite was agreeable.
No,
I don't ever
no,
remember
no, the
proposing it
board
myself
didn't-
in
The
November
board
either.
never discussed it. What happened is it came back in March, and then Denise Estrada added a letter saying that she was unhappy with the proposal, and then in April, it was supposed to be voted on with her changes. But the entire board, from the time that you proposed it to the time in April that we voted on it, there was zero deliberation. And that's a Brown Act violation.
I recall speaking about it. We all discussed the rewrite, and we were, except for yourself, happy with it. And if I remember correctly, you were the only one who voted no on it. So, and it seems like the discussion happened, you just weren't, it wasn't your position, and that's fine. You have every right to vote the way you feel. But all of us felt the rewrite met what we hoped it would, and that's why we voted yes.
I think part of the process was, it was sent to a subcommittee, come back with a recommendation. So the recommendation came before the board, and that was when the discussion about that particular, the content of the recommendation, which was rewritten once, would have some specificity to it. But it didn't include everything that was in that particular letter. So that was a recommendation by the subcommittee, and as it was presented to the board, then that was an opportunity for discussion, which was had, and then a vote was taken. That's,
I'm sorry to tell you that, Larry, but that is not what happened. The burden of proof is on you. If it happened, please bring it back at another time and tell me which meeting and when it was discussed, because it was not discussed by the entire board, which is a Brown Act violation.
I would disagree with you, because we had that discussion.
I know you disagree, but you have to prove that we discussed it. I've gone back and looked at all of the meetings, and there was no discussion. It was not deliberated by the board.
Why don't we check the minutes at that time, so that way we can clear this out?
I don't have them in front of me for that particular.
So I think we should just table this issue until, you can bring back.
Make a motion then.
Okay, I make a motion that we table this issue about the ITC resolution and its status as being appropriately arrived at through good governance in the Brown Act until we see that it was brought to the board for discussion. Because I didn't see it, and I've gone back and looked at all the minutes and all the meetings, and there was no discussion by the entire board.
Is there a second to that? So the motion doesn't carry because we don't have a second for it. So I think we continue with the decision that was made, and this is going to be presented to the City Council in June. So do we have any other reports or comments? Sal?
Larry O'Hara and myself attended the second annual Salinas Day at the Intermodal Center, and it was a nice event. It was a lot of community participation. And when I was there, I saw the opportunity for RC to have a booth to show what we're doing on historical preservation of our city. Even though we have that at the California Info Center, we should have it as a city. What are we doing to preserve our, historical sites? Because we are there in one of the first buildings ever built in Salinas. Yeah.
I think it's
Including, of course, the first mayor's house, of course.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think homework needs to be done as to what is available to hand out to people who go to this fair, rather than a table just with our name on it, with coming to chat with people. I mean, there needs to be more literature, more information, imagery, something that captivates people to spend time there and learn about our history and preservation.
We have to reprint the Art Deco self-guided tours and the Old Town self-guided tours, and also the Steinbeck walk of historical buildings he used to, live when he was little, to all the way to when he went out and became Nobel Prize winner.
Well, that's why it's going to be really interesting once Page and Turnbull survey is available, because that can be used in so many ways for neighborhood tours, walking experiences. So it's going to be a really valuable asset. But at the moment, I mean, most of the board doesn't even know what's on the list, right? So we really need that information. We've gone pretty far with the 89 survey, and consequently your neighborhood walking tours. Those are great to have. That's how we learn about our city and the architectural styles and who lived there maybe, when the house was built. Any other comments from the public or board members? We do have on May 11th a workshop. And Grant, the workshop is?
That's correct. On May 11th, here in this building in the Rotunda at 5:30 p.m., we'll be holding a community workshop on the Salinas train station, the ITC. Its focus will be on the existing conditions and opportunities memos that the city has prepared for the site, the short-term opportunities to activate the site based on recommendations from a community survey we've done, as well as looking back at the 2015 Downtown Vibrancy Plan and 2017 Economic Development Element, and looking to the future for rail service. How does that site, the train station, get more fully activated in the near term? So we will have a community meeting here, 5:30, Monday the 11th. We look forward to the public attending.
Good, thank you for that announcement. Any other comments, reports? Anything from the public? If not, the meeting's adjourned.